Boom. All right, 16.4. Welcome back. We have a chipper or a 13-minute AMRAP and as many rounds as possible. 55 deadlifts, 55 wall balls, 55 calories on the Concept 2. I was waiting for him to say skier because we have one, but on the Concept 2 rower, and then 55 handstand push-ups. A little variation depending on if you're scaling or masters or something like that. But that's the general idea. We're gonna go warm up and strategy in the same video today again for you guys. So buckle up. Warm up is pretty straightforward, just like it's been the last few weeks. 10 to 15 minute just general aerobic piece. You know, something monostructural, a little run, some rowing, some step up, step down, some jump rope, just trying to get the heart rate elevated, a little bit of a sweat going on, get some circulation to all the joints, all the muscles in the body, get everything kind of switched on. You're gonna move to some dynamic movements, focus on this. Glutes, get your glutes turned on. You're gonna definitely feel them in the deadlift. If you don't, get your hips opened up, the anterior hip flexors. Shoulders, you want to make sure that that wall ball goes overhead, and then especially for the handstand push-up for those of you folks that are doing those. Something that I hadn't seen said a lot of lately, or for this one, is your low back. Make sure, do some back extensions. We've got a reverse hyper here. It's a phenomenal machine just to kind of get some good flow through that low back, all the musculature down there. Get blood flow to that area, get it nice and warmed up. Mobility considerations, the big one here is your hip flexors. So we're spending a lot of time doing hip extension in this one. So that stand up piece from the deadlift, exploding up to do the wall ball, pulling back on the rower, and then finally, especially if you're kipping your handstand push-ups, that violent hip extension. So a lot of that stuff, you want to make sure that the hip flexors are nice and warm and ready to go for this workout. So spend a lot of time. Couch stretch is probably the best one that you can do for it. If you don't know that one, Google it. Now you know. Also, considerations for mobility, your scaps. You want to make sure the scapula are nice and loose. Your shoulders, just kind of get all this. Your traps ready to go. Your lats, your serratus muscles right in here, kind of what I call the rib cage muscles. Get those nice and loose, get them warmed up, ready to go. That way that you don't run into issues when everything gets short and tight towards the end there when you're trying to do handstand push-ups. You want all the length that you can get out of there so you get those heels over top of that line. Specific prep. So what we're going to advise is warm up to a moderately heavy deadlift that is going to be above what the weight is that you're going to be working at. So if you're doing the RX weight, we're going to say work to a deadlift that's about somewhere around 20% higher than what you're going to use. 225 in the workout. Work up to just a quick heavy single or maybe a double or something like that at 275. Ladies that are going to be working up to that full RX 155, work up to maybe a 185, potentially 205 deadlift, just hit a couple reps. It just gets everything turned on, firing real well in the nervous system. That way when you go back to pick up the bar for this other piece, the warm up and the workouts, the brain is like, okay, this feels good. Maybe it can at least carry you through the first 10 or 15 reps psychologically that this bar feels a lot lighter than I was expecting it to. And then kind of a little mini circuit workout that you can do just to kind of get some good blood flow, get a feel of what the movements are going to feel like when they're combined with each other. You're going to do 5 deadlifts, 5 wall balls, 5 calories on the rower, and then depending upon your handstand push-up proficiency, somewhere in that 2 to 5 range of those. So if handstand push-ups are going to be a huge limiter, or if they are a huge limiter for you, maybe you stick to 2 or 3. If it's no problem doing 5 in a warm-up a couple of times, is it going to affect your ability to do them a little bit later, then go for it. You want to do this for about 2 or 3 times. What I would recommend doing is that first deadlift weight, drop it back down. Do something that's going to be real light. Second round, add a little bit more weight. Third round, get up to that fighting weight. Go through it 2 to 3 times. That'll just give you a sense of what it's going to be like, your transitions in and out of different movements, getting onto the rower, getting the feet strapped in, comfortably getting out, all those kinds of things that seem like they don't make a big difference, but seconds really do matter in this workout, even though it is 13 minutes long. So now what we're going to do is specifically go through each movement. I'm going to give you some strategy tips for that, how to get the best possible score for your fitness level. On the deadlift, what we've seen so far is that this is killing people way more than they're thinking that it's going to. So break your deadlift sets early. If this is a really high percentage of your max, you might think about doing, triples, doubles, maybe even quick singles from the get-go. Even though I don't recommend just doing singles because you get more out of using the bounce or the rubberiness, if that's a word. Rubber plates, rubber floor, kind of use that bounce out of it. You're going to expend a lot less energy if you can do doubles and triples than if you're just pulling from a dead stop single off the floor every single time. Control your rest. So you're going to be breathing heavy. You're going to have to get used to that throughout this entire workout. So don't ever get to a point where you're thinking, if I could just catch my breath, it's not going to happen. You've got to just kind of grind through. That's the nature of these chipper workouts. You want to have great mechanics, so don't get caught into having that kind of, turtley looking upper back, that you see guys pull from this position. Reason why is because that's going to wreak havoc on your wall balls later. So if you spent all this time, in this folded over rounded position, 55 reps of deadlifts at 225 or 155, and then you try to go and stay upright when you're doing your wall balls, it's going to be even harder than it should have been coming off of that deadlift. So we want great mechanics, and then this is going to be the highlight of a lot of these is descending sets. So psychologically, it's just a lot easier if you can do some descending sets. You know that, okay, I just deadlifted 12 times, now I've got to do only less than that, then good to go. So, here's one way to think about it: 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 5, 5, and then you move on. But again, control that rest, get great mechanics, use the bounce of the rubber plates and the rubber floor, just to kind of get that bar back up to that fully extended position. Moving to the wall balls, don't rush it. What we saw a lot of people is miss their first one because they're really trying to pick it up, squat and throw, and they're all off. They just got done doing 55 deadlifts. Don't rush it, get set. Trust that your legs and your arms are going to be there for you. Your hamstrings just got blown up, low back got blown up, but your legs and especially your shoulders should be in good shape. So you've just got to trust that they're going to be there for you. The nature of this workout is really cool. It's a pull, a push, a pull, and a push movement. So they're not going to wreck each other in succession. They're very opposing movements. So the limiter on the deadlift is not going to affect the wall ball. The limiter on the wall ball is not going to affect your row, and the row is not really going to negatively affect the handstand push-ups. But you will see the deadlift come back to bite you on the row, and the wall ball come back to bite you on the handstand push-up. So just some food for thought as you're transitioning from movement to movement. Trust that your fitness is going to carry you into that movement and that you can get started right away. But on these, just don't rush it. You don't want to waste a wall ball repetition. It's heartbreaking to watch people get no rep over and over and over. So make those count. Control your rest, just like we talked about with the deadlift. I would recommend maybe marking your foot position. One thing that we found that works really well for all of our athletes, whether they're on the wall or on the high targets on the rig, is if you stand one arm length away from where that target is. That's a good spot so that you're not tossing it so far forward, but you're also not too close to where you're constantly running into that wall or the upright on the rig. Again, we're going to say descending sets on these. If you've got a big engine for wall balls, maybe you hit a set of 20, 15, 10, 8, 7. Something smaller than that, 15, 12, 10, 9, 6, 3. But just calculate it out however many breaks you want. Again, make sure, watch that clock. Don't count in your head. You're going to lie to yourself. So either you watch the clock, have a buddy here yelling at you, 3, 2, 1, go. Make sure that you're picking it up before they say go. Don't waste another 4 or 5 seconds before you bend down, get the ball, pick it up and go. All right, on the rower, if you don't have somebody reliable that can turn that thing on and zero it out for you, what we've really shown people to do is, as you're walking onto the rower, start hitting that menu on button even before you sit down and get your feet strapped in. That way you get your feet in, pull on them, hit just row, and start going right away. Don't get in, strap your feet, get set, then realize, crap, I didn't set my damper, or I haven't turned the rower on yet. Try to make all that in part of your transition. Get on there, pull right away, and use big arm pulls for those first couple. Your legs are probably going to be a little bit fatigued from the wall balls, but just trust your first, 4 or 5, maybe 8 pulls, really big arm pull, and then kind of settle into something that is going to be comfortable for you. You need to know what I call the, no matter how crappy I feel, I can always row this pace. There's a setting on the rower that'll allow you to see how many meters you're rowing next to how many calories you're expending on the rower too. So if you can get into that setting if you feel more comfortable, or if you know your calories per hour pace, no matter how crappy you feel, get to that pace and settle in right away. Get that rower spun up, settle in, and then just hang on until the end there. Stay moving on this thing. Just a note, the girls last night in the workout averaged right around 950 calories an hour. If you don't think that you're going to be able to row as strong as them, then kind of back that down. Now don't back it down to like 400, you know, but be reasonable with expectations that you have for yourself. Now we said that you want to start big arms to get going after you come off the wall balls, but as you're finishing up that row, think about the last 5 calories, really finishing strong with the legs and a little bit less with the arms, so we can kind of give that blood and everything time to flush out of the arms and get fresh, so we can go right over there, kick up, and get started on the handstand push-ups. So starting with big arms to let the legs recover, and then finishing with big legs for about the last 5 calories or so to save the arms and let them recover for the handstand push-up. And again, no matter how crappy I feel, row pace. That's what you need to get to right away. Handstand push-ups, all right? Do not waste your reps on this. In terms of measurement, read the rules. Do everything that it says within the rules. There is a massive difference in range of motion if you're talking about scapular elevation versus scapular depression. All right, my elbows are still locked, but there's a monumental difference, 3 to 4 inches in some cases. Somebody who is super flexible in the scaps. So if it's within the rules, all right, read the rule book, make sure you're doing the right thing. But that's just some food for thought. Also, I don't know if it would be to your advantage to maybe make that hand measurement right when you come into the gym when you're cold, a little bit tight, not super flexible. Again, your call. Make sure you're within the rules. Make sure that everything is set. Get that tape mark up there. Make sure that it's not going to go anywhere, that you've got maybe a backup mark as well. That way, if it does go somewhere, your judge doesn't scramble to get a retape up there for you. So, your first set, when you come up off the row, again, get right into it. Opposing kind of movements here. You're not going to be super smoked if you let the arms kind of recover on the row. We're going to say that you want to do a big set of fast reps. Not a massive set, but something that you can do relatively quickly and then come off the wall earlier than you think that you need to. So for instance, if you've got a set of 25 unbroken handstand push-ups, you jump up there, you feel good, you get to 15, 20, boom, come off the wall. Don't try to stretch it out to that 25. You're going to blow up and you'll never make it to 55. So just food for thought, fast reps, but make them accurate. One thing that we tell all of our athletes is when you kick up, make sure, tell your judge, I want you to say good before you start going down, because you don't want to kick up and immediately start your descent before your heels make contact above that line. So that's a big fault that we see a lot of. They'll kick up, heels above the line, good, go down, up, good, go down, up, good. Make sure that you and your judge are on the same pace with what you're looking for. You need to be aware that as you fatigue and as everything kind of accumulates in the shoulders, as you get tired, all those muscles are going to tighten up. And when they do that, they're going to shorten. All right? Which means as things shorten, your range of motion is going to be decreased. So instead of maybe getting 2-3 inches above that line where you were when you started fresh, all right, you're going to be getting dangerously close. So you may think about having a couple of different hand positions that allow for a little bit of fatigue and muscle shortening to set in once you're into those handstand push-ups. If you don't know what dorsiflexing your feet means, look down at your foot, pull your toe up towards your shin. All right, when you're upside down, that's actually going to make your heel go higher on the wall. So if your judge is sitting there telling you you're like half an inch short, dorsiflex your foot, pull your toe to your shin, and your heel is going to go up above that line. So this is not a leg squeeze, toes pointed. It's a leg squeeze, back, belly, butt tight, but heels up. So toes down towards your shins. All right, guys, I think that is it for right now. Oh, one exception. If you're going push press, all right, if you are of the Masters 55 plus category, push press, or whatever category has that movement in there, forget what I said about switching to big legs on that last 5 calories. Just stay nice and smooth. You're going to need big leg drive to do a push press because you're not allowed to go into a jerk, so no rebend of the legs. And hand release push-ups. Read the rules very carefully. You are not allowed to snake or worm or, for lack of a better phrase, kip your hand release push-ups. It says straight body must be maintained from the ground all the way to the vertical position, or all the way till you're extended. So make sure, read the rules, that you and your judge, everybody else is clear on what you need to do. What we found is that if you anchor your feet back against a wall and squeeze everything tight from there, it's easier to maintain that straight body position as opposed to just being out in the middle of the floor. So if you can get something to anchor your feet against, that would be a good idea. If you've got questions, comments, concerns, we had a lot of good ones last week, let us know. Otherwise, 16.4, good luck, go get them.